Evanston, Illinois. Only the second time all-time Purdue and Northwestern will meet as ranked opponents. Hi, everybody, and good morning from Evanston, Illinois. Steve Levy, Todd Christensen, thoughts from Dave Ryan in just a bit. Dave, thanks very much. I'm one of those who believes it's never too early to look at the standings. Travis Dorsch, the much-maligned kicker, kicks it away to Teddy Johnson in purple for Northwestern. And Johnson rumbles out to the 24-yard line. Steve Enos, the fullback, making the tackle on the special team. Zach Kustak leads the offense from Northwestern. And our best by rest of the starting lineups.
Of course, Teddy Johnson is the go-to guy, but look for Derek Thompson. He's going to have a day because their starter, Sam Simmons, is out.
1st and 10. They open up actually with 4 wide receivers. They'll use as many as 7 different wide receivers in the football game, and it's Kustak keeping it himself. Kustak on the gain, a pickup of 6 on the play. The offensive line, Northwestern's coaches told us Austin King is the best football player on the team.
I thought that was impressive. The best player, Aiken Adele, is somebody who last year with double-digit sack numbers has yet to put up the numbers this year. He's going to have a big game today.
Get used to the no huddle for Northwestern. They'll do it 99% of the time. Here's Kustak moving to his left, throwing right, and completing the pass. He's able to hook up there on the big play, as it's good for a 1st down and more. Kool-Aid Patrick on the reception for 24 yards. Joe Odom starts his 3rd straight game. There's an injury situation to linebacker.
Chris Clopton is the 5'7" corner that everybody seems to want to pick on.
First big play belongs to Northwestern. And they're on the Purdue side of the field. Out of the shotgun. Flag is down. Kustak is throwing. And he was looking for Roger Jordan, the true freshman receiver.
Going to be an offside penalty against Sean Phillips, the defensive end. He wanted to anticipate the count and get up the field a little bit quick. Quicker than he was supposed to, that is.
Offside, defense, 5 yards, repeat, 1st down.
Dave Whitbo is our referee today. There is Joe Tiller. Never lost against Northwestern. Looking to keep that record alive today.
A little different story, though, today. A ranked team on the road, and we'll document them a little bit later on, the struggles that Joe Tiller and Purdue has had with those people.
They pick up the handkerchief. Gives us a 1st down and 5. No huddle offense. You'll see it almost exclusively for Northwestern. This time Kustak did hand it off, and he goes to Damian Anderson, his 1st carry of the afternoon.
I mentioned the fact that Aiken Adele needed to make some plays, and right there he's able to stuff the runner, Randy Walker, doing a great job this year. Very entertaining coach, something else we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show.
The youthful-looking Randy
Yes,
Walker. He doesn't look like a 46-year-old man to me.
And look at Dale with 38.
On 2nd down and 5. Kustak fakes it to Anderson and keeps it wide open. Plenty of running room. 15, 10, and he's just shy of a 5-yard line before Ashante Woodyard brought him down. A 33-yard gain on the keeper by Kustak. What an option to be able to fake to Anderson and keep it himself.
Inevitably, what happens here is the flow. Watch the flow that goes in this direction. Now the flow goes, look at all the white shirts heading there. Now he's got a situation where the corner has to make a decision. He opts for the pitch guy. Kustak able to come upfield. Huge play for the Wildcats.
Kustak came in 3rd in passing and total offense in the Big Ten, and he's adding to his numbers here. Now he steps up under center, changing the play. Their game plan is far from etched in stone, at least offensively. They make a number of changes on the field split second. Kustak will hand it off to Damian Anderson. He'll be brought down at the 2-yard line as a real good-looking drive continues. Sean Phillips made the stop shy of the goal line.
Something interesting that we were talking about, Steve, that we documented at great lengths at the top of the show is the long-distance ability of Damian Anderson, saying he's not padding those numbers with 1- and 2-yard runs. Now he's got a chance to.
Well, some of those numbers that we showed earlier in the open were simply unbelievable. Northwestern, perfect when you're talking about points inside the red zone.
And that number is unbelievable.
Anderson to the goal line, second and third effort, he won't get in. Again, brought down by Sean Phillips, along with Ashante Woodyard.
Now, interestingly enough, Steve, one of the things that you need to do here is that they decide to go with their power package and go with the I formation. They're running just fine without it. When you spread everybody out, that takes away the run support. I'm always surprised at that. I don't know why they don't just go with their normal package.
Third down and goal from the one, out of the eye. Kustok will give it to Anderson, and why not? Touchdown, Damian Anderson, and just like that, Northwestern is on the board.
Steve, it's one thing to practice against the no huddle during the week against your scout team, but there's absolutely no way that they can duplicate not only the quality of the quarterback and his ability to make the decision that Kustok does, but the speed of what's happening. One of the things that offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson pointed out to us for Northwestern, he says, watch the speed at which we play. He's not talking about the no huddle, he's talking about the way they get up and down the field. Certainly in that first drive, that was reminiscent of that.
Tim Long has been perfect. 28 of 28 on extra points all season. And Long will keep that alive. 29 for 29. For Randy Walker and Northwestern, hard to imagine getting off to a better start. Damian Anderson, the touchdown Northwestern leads. Kustok was brilliant on that first drive. Keep in mind, he's the other quarterback in the stadium today. He's had to deal with questions all week about, hey, going up against Drew Brees. Of course, Damian Anderson has done the same thing. He's put Montrell Lowe in that same position. They'll find Purdue running back. But Northwestern has the lead. There is Drew Brees getting ready to take the field.
Do you think there's anybody in college football that's watching this year that when we got that shot of number 15 on the sidelines that didn't know who that is?
So you're saying I shouldn't have had to reinforce that point?
Just make it a point.
Tim Long kicking it away to Vinny Sutherland. Sutherland trying to cut it up at the 20. Wow, really good special teams tackle there. Doug Sizemore making the play on the special teams. And there is the quarterback, Drew Brees, for Purdue. He comes in 407 yards shy of passing Chuck Long for #1 Big Ten all-time.
And while everybody's talking about the passing game for Purdue, don't forget number 3, Montrell Lowe last week, 126 yards on the ground for Purdue against Michigan, out rushing the A-Train, Anthony Thomas.
There is Lowe. He'll open up as the lone setback and the only member of the backfield besides Drew Brees. Off the high snap, Brees faked it to Lowe and tried to hook up with his tight end Tim Stratton. It's an incomplete pass that'll bring up second down. The rest of our Best Buy starting lineups, the offensive line, the coaching staff, they all seem to agree Matt Light is the best tackle they've ever been around.
Of course, for the defensive line, I asked defensive coordinator Jerry Brown, who has to have a good day for you today. He said, absolutely. Number 95, Dwayne Missouri, has to have a good game for us today. He leads Northwestern with 5 sacks.
Second down and 10. Send the man in motion. And this time they do hand it off to Lowe, and he breaks it out to the 30. First down and more. He's got the entire sideline. It's a foot race now. And he is taken out at the 31-yard line. Rashidi Wheeler, if he didn't make the stop, it might have been 6. Gain of 48 on the play. The linebackers for Northwestern, they go 1, 2, 3 in terms of tackles on the Wildcats. Silva is second in the Big Ten in tackles.
And in the secondary, the man for them is Harold Blackman with 4 interceptions this year. He is their best cover corner. Take a look at the run here. 2nd and 10. You're thinking they're going to throw. Great blocking at the point of the attack. Montrell Lowe is able to get to the outside. Now it's just a foot race. He ends up getting run down by Wheeler, but not before a big game down to the 30.
We've had plenty of big games already. We expected big play offense, and here it is. They hand it off to Sutherland, the wide receiver. He turns the corner and should be just shy of the first down to the 21-yard line. Napoleon Harris bumped him out.
You know, the first drives throughout the season, Steve, Purdue has not been that effective, as you can see by this graphic. And, of course, coming into this game with Northwestern just flying down the field, they need to do a little bit better. Well, they certainly have now. Almost into the red zone here against Michigan, finally scoring. But you would think that a juggernaut like the Purdue offense would be a little bit more successful. Certainly, I think they were inspired by the fast start by the Purple.
There's a look at the offensive coordinator, Jim Chaney, in his 4th year, 3rd as offensive coordinator. He only had 3 possessions to work with in the first half last week. Here on possession number 1, Brees is firing and completing down to the 11-yard line, able to hook up with Seth Morales.
Well, one of the things that Drew Brees does so well is he buys time and he can throw from all angles. And this is incumbent upon great quarterbacks. Not that he has to sit in the pocket. Here he's running against the grain, buys time, pump fake, able to get the ball back and still able to deliver the ball on the money to Morales. Every time I see Drew Brees, I'm impressed, and I'm weary of the naysaying scouts telling me that he can't throw the deep ball, can't do this, can't do that. The guy is a great quarterback.
I showed you Northwestern perfect inside the 20. Purdue's pretty good, but not perfect. Here's Lowe. Met by 2 and 3 jerseys at the 10-yard line. Rashad Morton put the big stick on him.
Morton coming up from the safety position. Jerry Brown, defensive coordinator, told us how smart this young man was, not only in the classroom but on the field. He's able to make all the conversions for them in terms of calls in the secondary. Initially met by Silva, and there's Morton to finish him off. Morton, a bright guy. And of course, the guys back there have to be that way. They have to direct traffic.
Cedric Brown has checked into the football game. Stratton goes in motion to the right side. Here's Brees to throw. Runs outside the pocket, now firing end zone. And his pass is incomplete behind the intended receiver, Morales.
And that's excellent coverage on the part of the Northwestern secondary, because Brees finally breaks contain, and once he's outside, that's got to be a problem, because then he buys the extra 2 and 3 seconds. But the people in purple were able to hang tough, and now it's 3rd down, of which Purdue has been pretty good on 3rd down conversions, I'd say. In fact, astonishing.
That's
59%. That is amazing. This one, however, Steve, a little more difficult.
3rd down and 10. Not a whole lot of room to work with. With the ball just outside the 10-yard line. Brees out of the shotgun. Throws. Wide open. Touchdown. Able to hook up with Vinny Sutherland. Must have been a blown coverage there. Sutherland all by himself. Their leader in receiving yards, and we've got the makings of a shootout in the first 5 minutes of this game.
Steve, I love it when every now and then we're right. We predict this in terms of offense. Maybe we're just a little bit too soon, but the protection has been outstanding. 2nd in the nation, only giving up 5 sacks coming into this game. And as a result of the crossing route, Sutherland, their fastest player, able to get open and deliver the 6. His 8th touchdown of the year, Steve.
Travis Dorsch on the extra point connects to tie it up. And we are tied at 7-all. We haven't even played 5 minutes. Brees has a touchdown pass. Anderson a rushing touchdown. We're tied. Witnessing a dandy early on. Brees to Sutherland. A 10-yard touchdown catch. We've got a barn burner. It's 7-all, less than 5 minutes in. Teddy Johnson is the deep man back for Northwestern in their purple. Travis Dorsch is set to tee it up and kick it away.
The ball just fell down for him. That's why he had to straighten it out. Boy, he hasn't had good luck this year, Dorsch.
The much maligned kicker and punter, at least sometimes punter, for Purdue. Dorsch puts it in the air. Johnson from the 3-yard line. Out to the 20. He's got a sideline to himself. Now finds some company, but after a good return of 41 yards, he's able to bring it out to the 45, and that's where they'll start on offense on 1st and 10. And speaking of offense, and that's exactly what we had. We highlighted the 2 Heisman hopefuls. Got a touchdown by each one of them so far in a 7-7 game.
Yeah, really, that's so much fun when they live up to expectations. I'm anticipating that Anderson's going to get even more yards coming here in the next couple of series, but Drew Brees showed the poise and the calm that has made him so good. You know, basically the Heisman guy all year long.
Maybe the only surprise, those 2 people scoring, is the way it was done. Anderson only a 1-yard touchdown run after we highlighted all his big play touchdowns earlier. 1st and 10 now. We'll see how Northwestern counters on offense. They fake it to Anderson, who provided a pretty nice block, and Stack will keep it there, but that'll be a loss on the play.
Take a look and see how quickly they get off the next play here with this no huddle. Sean Phillips, defensive end, is the one with the tackle for loss. Now remember that usually the play clock is around 25 or 35 from the time the thing went dead to now. not doing it as quickly as usual.
They say the wear and tear on the defense, they can really see it come third and fourth quarter. Kustok throwing across his body, and a nice reception made on the completed pass. Able to hook up there with Kunle Patrick, who went up high to make the play.
Patrick with his second catch here early on, but Kustok has to pay a price. They came with a stunt right in his face. Take a look at the shot that he takes. Oh, man. Middle linebacker for Purdue. That was Joe Oda who drops him.
Kustok has thrown twice and completed both passes for 34 yards. Here's Kustok throwing again across his body and again able to complete. This time it's Eric Worley, the backup tight end, making just his second catch of the season.
Great call by Kevin Wilson. 3rd and 1. Everybody's anticipating the handoff to Anderson. He's able to come out against the grain, throwing against his body, as we pointed out. Steve, that doesn't seem to be as big a deal anymore for quarterbacks. We see that all the time. The right-handers rolling left and delivering the ball on the money. Kustok, very accurate here early on.
Gives him a 1st and 10 now from the 28-yard line.
He's hobbling out of it. He saw the corner blitz.
Kustok looked behind him, it looked like. He was looking to the sideline for signals. That's what it is. Almost staring at the official there. And Kustok on the option will pitch it out to the left. That'd be a pretty good recruiting pitch for Navy. You get to play Notre Dame. You're not going to win the game, but you get to play Notre Dame every year. Handed off to Anderson. Trying the left side for a couple.
Once again, Sean Phillips in on the play, having a good couple of defensive series early. And once again, another 3rd down play for Northwestern. One of the things with the no huddle, Steve, they can't change their personnel. Pittsburgh has to go with the base people on the field. See the numbers for Phillips on the season.
Redshirted last season. Phillips did, and having a big season here. 3 receivers out to the right. Fake to Anderson. Kustok now throwing and completes. Found a seam to the 10-yard line. Again, it's Kunle Patrick on the reception.
What ends up happening here, and the reason Northwestern is so effective, is because defenses are going to be in sync. In the secondary, you think pass. In the front 7 needs to think pass. Now, for all intents and purposes right here, you're saying to yourself, what? It's got to be a run. It's an option, right? No, it isn't. It's a pass. And the result is that Kustok is able to fool people in the secondary, deliver the ball once again on the money.
That's Patrick's 3rd reception in the game. Here's Anderson carrying towards the goal line, and he's brought down at the 2.
But once again, Purdue's defense is reeling. Brock Spack, defensive coordinator for Purdue, last week, remember, against Michigan, struggled early on. 4 straight drives went for touchdowns for Michigan until they were able to get it right in the second half. He certainly is confused right now.
Anderson, and this time it will be a loss. Good defensive play there. Matt Mitrione was on the tackle for Purdue with a loss of yardage against Anderson. Down to the field, and Dave Ryan.
Well, guys, we're talking about the no huddle, and Todd just mentioned how Purdue is reeling. Sean Phillips, the linebacker of Purdue, was looking at his wristband for defensive alignment as the ball was being snapped, as the play was starting. The Purdue defenders are on their heels. They have been from the start. They just can't get adjusted to the no huddle Northwestern offense.
Yeah, Brock Spack said he was really concerned. Look, we don't want to confuse our own defense. We're just trying to get the right people in the right position, and that was really a concern coming in this week. 3rd down and goal now. From the 7. Kustok drop, fires, throws, complete, touchdown. Teddy Johnson on the touchdown. Northwestern, 2 possessions, 2 scores.
At home, you're watching this, and you watch Kustok get people up to the line of scrimmage. Then he looks over to the sidelines. The reason is then they can peruse from the sidelines what's happening defensively. He saw the man coverage. Teddy Johnson calls the slant route while everybody is waiting at the line of scrimmage. Very novel way to approach offense the Wildcats are doing here today, and Kustok is just having a tremendous game here early on, Steve.
He's 5 of 5 passing for 77 yards and 1 touchdown.
Well, we knew he was an athlete, but I didn't know he was going to be this accurate.
Tim Long is on to attempt the extra point, and he splits the uprights just perfect.
Teddy Johnson with the big catch here, Steve, on the slant route. Something to take into account here is the fact that this is the 5th straight game in which he has had a touchdown reception. But this one didn't go for 44 yards. Still counts, though.
That is simply amazing. Again, we did hear from Purdue about the concerns Northwestern and their great conditioning, but you wouldn't think it would be a factor so early in the game. Chris Croft in the run. He runs out of bounds. 9:30 Eastern. Here's Brees, going to hang on to it, absorb a hit or two as he's out to the 41-yard line. Drew Brees on the carry.
Quarterback draw, plan play, Steve. You mentioned the games coming in. A couple of Heisman hopefuls in those games. Deuce McAllister, the do-it-all runner from Mississippi. And, of course, for Clemson, Woodrow Dantzler. Quarterback who has a shot at 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards passing, not unlike Eric Crouch at Nebraska.
How about the differences, Todd, in the tempo here when Purdue has the football and when Northwestern has the football?
Well, they're both effective. Of course, last time, let's give Brock Speck credit. He was able to put together a package. He was able to thwart Northwestern on that last drive.
On second down, able to complete to Seth Morales. Dave, thank you. Trust for them. Of course, Purdue was talking about believing last week when they were down 18 against Michigan.
Every single player that we talked to had so-called, to use the phrase, bought into the system. Everybody was very, very believing, and why not? You're 5-1 in range.
Third down and inches. Steve Ennis with a short yardage back, and he's the ball carrier, and he didn't get the short yardage he needed there. Kevin Bentley and Rashad Morton came up to stop the run.
Steve, I've said this over and over again, that when you jam everybody in here and it's not what you're used to, and clearly this is not a formation that Purdue is used to, they get a poor start, slips a little bit. Great at the point of the attack. The first guy to get him is Bentley. Now fourth down, they're going to have to kick it away.
Purdue only punted one time last week, and this is Scott Kurz, the junior from Bloomington, on to punt it away. Only his 6th attempt of the season. Travis Dorsch, the kicker, had to punt it, and he drops the snap and just barely gets it away. And he's fortunate, takes a Purdue bounce inside the 30 down to the 29-yard line. Inexperience showing off there. Just a 28-yard punt for Scott Kurz, and he's lucky he got that many yards. Kurz really, again, installed as the punter just 1 week ago. And only had one chance to do it last week.
Well, the problems continue for the punting unit with Purdue.
But the sound in the kicking game, somebody told me a long time ago. Here's Damian Anderson. He's down to the 40-yard line.
Well, of course, what we're talking about here is the problems that their punter Travis Dorsch had against Penn State. Now you see number 30. He was the punter against Penn State when the freshman linebacker, number 94, Wake, is able to break through, get in his face.
First and 10 after the Anderson run. Kustok will fake it to Anderson. Now keeps it and pitches out. Tricky play there as he's able to pitch out to Kool-Aid Patrick.
Give Kurz credit here in this situation, Steve. At least he was able to get it off.
Anderson carries across midfield. Tough when you're responsible for both the kicking and the punting. Dorsch trying to handle both. Kicked the game-winning field goal week, of course, after missing an opportunity. Kustok is tackled there just beyond midfield.
Craig Terrell, defensive tackle, another tackle for loss for Purdue. I noticed Purdue's taking some chances here, Steve. They're blitzing off the corner from time to time. It's about time for Northwestern to go up the field with a throw here.
Coming up on 10 minutes to play in the first half. 14-7. First 3 possessions of the game all resulted in touchdowns. Things have slowed down just a bit since then. Anderson shifts to his left. Kustok calling signals. And will look to throw. Fires sideline complete to the 38-yard line. Third down and 1. 3 receivers out to the right. Kustok hands it off to Anderson, who is belted just as he received the football by Matt Mitrione. He said the email has been in the negative email has been like triple digits to him. And every time he opens up an email, he only opens one belonging to family and friends he recognizes. That punt is down at the 5-yard line. 36-yard punt by J.J. Standring, and it is just about perfect down to the 5-yard line. Homecoming here in Evanston. Near sellout crowd on hand. And they hand it off to Montrell Lowe, and he's shy of the 10. Rashad Morton on the tackle.
Steve, here's the advantage, strangely enough, of being 5'8", as we take a look at Kustok on the sidelines with the headphones, trying to find out what he needs to do next in the series. What I was about to say with regards to Montrell Lowe, though, is one of the advantages of being 5'8". It looked like he's going to be tackled for about a 1 or 2 yard loss. But then all of a sudden your hands slip down, and the youngster is able to break a tackle. See, he's heading into close to 100 yards already. He has 9 carries for 87 yards.
Everyone talking about Lowe as he looks quicker this year, looks stronger, and Lowe says, hey, I'm the same running back. He said my offensive line is better this season. Makes him look faster. Here's Brees moving to his left and throwing across the body. And it would have been a one-handed catch by Vinny Sutherland, but he could not come up with the play.
Brees had to throw the ball a little bit sooner than he wanted to. Sutherland was not quite out of his break. And there is a little pressure in the face of number 15. Here he making his break. It was just the ball was thrown a little bit too soon. Sutherland not able to come up with a catch.
We're going to need a nickname for the DBs for Northwestern. They start a Raheem, a Rashad, and a Rashidi. They got to have, you know, I don't know what it's going to be, but rest, relaxation, 3 R's.
R-cube.
I was hoping for something a little better than that, but we'll work on it. Oh, plenty of time.
You don't have anything.
Well, I know. I just threw it out there for you. 3rd down and 5. We'll see if the 3 R's are tested here. Pass is completed. Looking very close to a face mask there on the far side. Hooking up with Sutherland and Billy Silva. The middle linebacker wrapped him up.
A little underneath pattern, and when in doubt, go to your go-to guy, and Sutherland is the man. Short route, and there's no replacing speed. Right there, most running backs would probably get tackled. They wouldn't pick up the 1st down. Instead, Sutherland with his blazing 4.35 speed able to get up the field and get the 1st and convert yet another 3rd down for the Boilermakers.
Sutherland had a pretty good gain last year's game against Northwestern. He had a 99-yard touchdown catch. Actually won the game in the 4th quarter.
Is that a record?
Tough to do longer than 99 yards. Officially. The throw, and again, out of the hand. Brees trying to connect, that time with Morales, and he couldn't hang on. 2nd down and 10 now. Here's Brees. Drew Brees to throw, fires. That one is complete to Morales, or rather to Sutherland, I beg your pardon. 5th catch of the afternoon for Vinny Sutherland. 7:20 to go here in the 1st half. Purdue trying to tie the football game. Drew Brees under pressure is going to have to eat that one. He is sat down at the 25-yard line. Dwayne Missouri got to him.
His parents, Lamar and Joplin, are thrilled. Here's the deal. He was over on the tight end, and the tight end naturally here. Stratton is not necessarily a pass blocker. Missouri just runs over the top of him literally, and he's able to get Brees. Obviously, Stratton did not provide much of an obstacle at all for Dwayne Missouri, with now his 6th sack on the season, the 5th-year senior from San Antonio, Texas.
We talked to Missouri yesterday. He said he's never really gotten a good lick on Brees. I'm not sure if that counts, but he got the sack at least. First time he's ever gotten to Drew Brees. Here's Brees now, and somebody else would get to him this time, but not until an 8-yard gain. It was Rashad Morton. He posted the 1st down.
Steve, once again, the play with the quarterback drive out of the shotgun, and now he comes up and creates a very makeable 3rd down. Got to give some credit here to Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, mixing and matching here, doing some unpredictable things on downs that really appear to be passes, and then he goes with the runs, able to create some good yardage there.
3rd down, again, Purdue the best in the country when it comes to converting 3rd downs. And that's the way they're so successful keeping their drives alive. 3rd and short now at the 36. Off the low snap, Brees lofts it over the linebacker's head. It's Stratton wide open to the 40 and inside down to the 37-yard line. Gain of 26 on the play before Conrad Emmerich finally brought him down. The quick hitter to the tight end. And here's Dave Ryan. Dave?
State Purdue tight end Tim Stratton came close to not having his helmet for this game. He lost it in the madness of the post-game celebration following the dramatic win over Michigan last week. Now, all of last week, Tim appealed to the Purdue fan who grabbed it. He gave them a Michigan game ball autographed by the whole team in exchange for the helmet. It's got a great ending. I'll tell you the end of that after this play, Steve.
All right, Dave, thanks. Tempo of this game making Dave's job a little more difficult this afternoon. Handing it off to Montrell Lowe. Breaks it, 1st down and more. And more from Dave Ryan.
No word until yesterday, guys, when a secretary in the football office had a voicemail saying if Tim wanted his helmet back, he should return to the place where he lost it. Sure enough, someone left it on the field with an anonymous note saying, I hope you enjoy having the helmet back as much as I enjoyed having it. Coach Taylor, by the way, guys, was not amused. He told Stratton he'd have to pay the $220 or he couldn't play today. Several fans actually called the football office during the week volunteering to pay, but I guess that would probably be an NCAA violation, right?
Isn't everything. Yeah. Lowe is the lone setback. Thanks, Dave. And Brees will hand it off to Lowe. There's some of the sweet feet you're talking about. Wow. Great cut back by Lowe.
Check it out, though. Did you see the block? What a block by Brees. Came downfield and threw a block for him. That was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. You get Montrell Lowe the ball. He cuts to the outside. I'm serious, Steve. Number 15, Drew Brees, the guy downfield, cutting the legs out from the defender.
Man, hey, who's the star running back in this game today? Is it Lowe? 10 carries, 108 yards. Anderson has just 23 yards on the ground so far for Northwestern. Pass across to Cedric Brown. And he's just shy of the 10, rather inside the 10-yard line, down to the 7. Kevin Bentley made the stop.
Let's go back a play and take a look at what I was documenting. Talk about an all-around guy. We talked about his running. Now watch number 15. Watch him cut to the outside. Now watch. Cuts downfield. Look at this. He throws a block. What a great job. Knocks out the feet of their free safety, Rashad Morton, enabling Lowe to go over the 100-yard mark, as you pointed out. I think that's something that if you're at home, you're saying to yourself, or even as the voters, to say Heisman Trophy winner, is he a one-dimensional guy? I don't think so.
Play selection, I'd say that's a pretty good balance there, Todd. Right around where you want to be. Here's Brees going to throw for the 18th time. Corner of the end zone. Was looking for Staniford, and he zipped it through, and Staniford could not hang on. Raheem Covington had the coverage. Getting back to what Dave was talking about with Stratton, tell the truth here. You ever lose your helmet?
No, no, no.
That is the cardinal rule, right?
No.
Football players, no matter what, hang on to your helmet.
No, no. Ever since that's been made famous ever since Thurman Thomas lost in the Super Bowl against the Redskins. No, you don't do that.
13th play of this drive coming. On 2nd down and goal from the 7. Flag goes down. Brees will throw. And complete. Touchdown.
Steve, I was just about to say.
Staniford will check the flag.
Steve, I was just about to say that Stanford has really struggled up to this point. He had the 2 drops earlier. He had the out route there at the end of the end zone. Didn't get it. It's going to be a touchdown because Northwestern was offside. Stanford comes across the field. Once again, Brees does a great job of buying time to let him run his route, clear himself from the defensive back, and deliver the ball right on the money. Leading freshman receiver in the nation coming into this game, Steve, with 34 catches. Again, we talk about Brees floating to his left, buying time. That's a nice catch. A little bit behind him, Staniford comes up with the 6er.
Staniford had the touchdown catch in the 4th quarter a week ago in the comeback win over Michigan. The extra point is good as Dorsch connects. Drew Brees so far has 2 touchdown passes on the afternoon. 1 to Sutherland, 1 to Stanford. We're tied in Evanston, Illinois. Tied at 14, under 4 to go in the first half. Teddy Johnson from the 20-yard line out to the 31, and that's where Northwestern will operate 1st and 10 from the 20. Kevin Lawrence on the return. 3:44 away from that here. Zach Kustok under pressure, and he will go down. Kustok is dropped at the 18-yard line. Joe Odom, who's been pressed into service recently due to some injuries like the one to Landon Johnson, and Odom comes up with a sack for Purdue.
Great penetration on the part of Odom to come up the field. He showed some real speed running down Kustok from the backside.
Odom making his 3rd straight start this afternoon. 2 different drives of 13 plays. That's an eternity on the sideline. And they're trying to get back in their rhythm, and they seem to have lost some of that. How about 2nd and 30? What do you pull out of the old playbook here? There's Kustok under pressure. It's going to be worse than 2nd and 30 now. Another sack.
Sean Phillips,
and it's Sean Phillips on the sack.
2 sacks and a tackle for loss. Guy's got about a half dozen tackles as well. Sean Phillips having himself a day. Came up the field. He gets a good job. Oh, just stuffs the left tackle. Oh, that's a great job. Great pass rush.
So they're starting to get to Kustok. And this time he's keeping it himself. Damian Anderson, rather, off the fake. Stuart Schweigert eventually got to him. They get some of the yardage back.
I should mention the fact, too, that just like last series when Brees was involved in the blocking in that situation, so was Kustok. He was downfield. A problem here, Steve. It's too bad for Northwestern that he ended up out of bounds, because now the clock stops with 2:18 remaining, giving Drew Brees plenty of time to get the Boilermakers down the field.
They'll punt it away with J.J. Strandring. That is 12. Vinny Sutherland is at his 31-yard line. High snap. Strandring brings it down. Not a particularly good kick. We'll see if it's effective. And it just bounces out of bounds at the 42. A 37-yard punt. I think they faked to him more than they've actually given him the football, almost as a decoy. Just 13 carries for 43 yards. You see what he's 175 yards per game average, well off that mark, but a whole second half to play. Here's Chris Crofton returning the opening kickoff of the second half and doing a nice job returning it. He's out to the 40-yard line. And so Purdue will start with excellent field position. But wait a second, there was a flag on the play. See how good that field position will be.
Really good.
Yeah, now it's getting better every second. Here's Dave Ryan.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot. Purdue coach Joe Tiller told me a couple of moments ago he expects a big surge from Northwestern, both offensively and defensively, to begin this second half. He says stopping the no-huddle offense when Northwestern gets the ball back, the first two drives in the second half will be crucial for his team. Now, I asked him and a couple other defensive coaches, what adjustments did you make in the middle of the first half when you're able to finally slow down the Northwestern no-huddle offense? They said they didn't. They just got adjusted to the tempo of the game, and that made a big difference in the opening half. They hope to continue defensive domination against Northwestern in half number 2.
All right, excellent stuff, Dave. And Dave reported right after the first series already, it seemed like the Purdue defense was out of gas, and they really picked it up late in the first half, all throughout the second quarter. And it's Montrell Lowe starting it off first play from scrimmage.
Something crucial to consider here, though, Steve, is that in the battle of field position, we talked a lot about offenses and defense. Special teams are huge here. To give Purdue starting field position at your own 44-yard line is certainly not a good thing for Northwestern. So give Clopton credit for a terrific return after bobbling the ball. And then, of course, the extra 15 yards. Great field position for the Boilermakers.
2nd down and 7 after the gain of 3 for Drew Brees. Brees drops back and fires.
Safe to say that he and Seth Morales were not on the same page, because Morales had his back to him, and once again Purdue is going to have to come up with another 3rd down conversion. As we take a look at the numbers, total yards, the one that stands out to me is right here, the total yards by Northwestern. We pointed out in those first 2 drives, they were unbelievable. Since that time, 4 straight punts.
And Purdue with 4 sacks in that first half, getting to Zach Kustak and Arari. Drew Brees was even sacked. Wow, only the 6th time all season. Purdue the best in the nation on 3rd down, staring at a 3rd down and 7. And he fires, and it's complete to Vinny Sutherland. Maybe just shy of the 1st down. We'll see where they mark the ball. Harold Blackman had the coverage.
34-yard line, I'm guessing if they'll go for it. But they probably won't go for it with the same play that they had last time. And that was that 3 tight end bit of a mess. Once again, Sutherland does a great job of getting his hands underneath this ball. Northwestern opted for the 3-man rush, which again afforded Drew Brees a lot of time to survey the field. Vinny Sutherland, a man that they talked about needing his energy, but I think that as some of the other wide receivers, Steve, have dropped balls, that they're more inclined now to get out on the field more than usual. Well, certainly the measurement is an inexact science. Get a chance to see the catch by Vinny Sutherland. He does get his hands underneath it. Watch it. Now he has to step forward and drop to one knee to make sure he has the ball, and he does have it.
And the fan at home is saying, hey, that's on the wide receiver. Got to go past the marker when you make your cut.
But you got to come back and get the ball. The ball's a little bit low. You got to make the catch.
Only 3 consecutive completions. That is Brees' longest streak so far today. 4th and inches, they go for it with the ball spotted just inside the 35-yard line. 2nd, 4th down conversion attempt today.
I don't know why he's audible. I don't know why he just doesn't come up and sneak it. Just run behind Big Chucky Jacoby.
He's going to give it to Montrell Lowe, and Lowe is belted and loses the football, but they'll say he was down, and then we'll see where they mark the forward progress.
I think they gave him enough.
It looked like that first burst was there. Then he was thrown back, and then it got worse from there as he fumbled the football.
Well, that was a clinic of a tackle in between. You would think to yourself that all you need is a couple of inches that you're going to be able to lean forward. And I think he is going to get it. But boy, what a great tackle. Basic handoff. Watch as he comes in. And now watch the tackle. Helmet right in the chest. Boy, that's a terrific tackle there by their safety, Rashidi Wheeler, who drives him backwards. They strip the ball, but of course it's all after the fact. He was able to get, of the 2 inches, I think he got 4 of them, Steve. Not much. Wheeler with a good stick.
First down and 10. 2 receivers out to the left. Lowe, the lone setback for Drew Brees. Brees firing quickly and completing to Donald Winston, his first catch of the afternoon. Shy of another first down, Rashad Morton on the stop.
Trying to break things up. Northwestern decides to go with the stunt, and they come with 7 people. But I tell you what, when you're back there, Brees sees it. He's able to deliver the ball right on the mark, and if Winston doesn't slip, they have a big gainer.
He's got that quick release, Drew Brees does. Winston had 7 catches last season in '97 against Northwestern, a career year. That was his first of this afternoon. On second and short, Brees pumps, now lets it go, and it's complete to John Standiford for a first down. And Purdue starting with a good field position, starting to move down the field.
You know, there are people that are proponents of the shotgun, and there are those that believe it's a deterrent to success on offense. When I watch Brees, I think he gets the ball and he surveys the field. I remember when I was a kid, they made reference to Johnny Unitas as a field general. I get that same sense from this young man, that he's in charge out there. He gets the ball. There's something very majestic about it.
And obviously very bright. His coaches say he knows the playbook maybe too well, better than they even know it at some time.
Spring semester 4.0 in business, Steve.
Handoff to Lowe, down to the 15. We're even on the scoreboard, and you mentioned the academics. These are 2 very fine academic schools.
I'll tell you what, though, Montrell Lowe, little number 3, while Brees is getting a lot of credit, and justifiably so, that young man gives him an opportunity to do some different things. Heading into this game, Steve, he only had 391 yards, even though he had the 126 last week. Now today, once again, over the century mark. Nothing like diversity in your offense.
Lowe in the spring was given the team's Pit Bull Award. Gives you an idea how he plays the game. Brees was looking to hook up with Sutherland, and there comes the flag on Covington.
That's a good call. And Covington knows that he's not beefing. They want the slant route. Sutherland had him beat. He just pulled his arm back. And since it'll be half the distance to the goal, that's better than a touchdown.
Again, Northwestern.
Pass interference, defense, spot foul, automatic first down.
Wildcats, the most penalized team in the Big Ten. They're adding to their totals here today.
Something that you pointed out, Steve, which I thought was a good one, is you see the penalties today, even up 5 apiece, is that not only the halftime, but now this initial drive of the half is giving that Purdue defense plenty of rest.
Brees going to sprint up the middle to the 5-yard line. I'm not sure if that was the intended play or not. The snap was just off to the side, and Brees took off.
No, it's an intended play. This is the quarterback draw. They've been doing this from time to time. Takes the 2 steps back. Look, he doesn't even look down the field, Steve. It's running all the way. But good closure on the part of Northwestern, particularly number 2, Kevin Bentley.
Was that a fake pitch? There was no one behind him if, in fact, he was faking it.
Quarterback draw all the way. After those 80 yards last week, he thinks he's Barry Sanders.
Second down and goal.
Or now we're in Chicago. Excuse me, Bobby Douglas.
Cade McNown running fine from the quarterback position for the Bears. Thrown and dropped. Looked like it was a little behind Sutherland, but a catchable ball that would have been 6.
That's very astute, Steve. It was a little bit behind, but I think even Vinny Sutherland knows that that's a catchable ball. He gets the separation with his speed. Now, once you get the separation in the back of the end zone, motor down a little bit. He doesn't motor down, and the result it goes right through his hands. Yeah, it was a catchable ball, and Sutherland knows it.
Brees is just 14 of 26. He's had a couple of drops, but, you know, even his throws haven't really been on the mark. He seems to be a tad off throwing the football today. And, of course, high expectations when it comes to Drew Brees putting the football wherever he wants to. Brees will try it again. That one's right on the money, and that's 6. Touchdown to John Stanford. Man, they made that look easy.
Exactly the same play that they ran for their last touchdown against Michigan last week. They go with the crossing routes. Northwestern gets confused underneath. And again, the protection for Brees is solid.
Stanford, his second touchdown catch of the game. Third touchdown pass today for Drew Brees. And Travis Dorsch will come on and look to make it a 7-point lead for the Boilermakers. And he does.
Well, John Stanford certainly struggled early, but now with his second touchdown catch of the day, he's doing some good things. You mentioned Drew Brees is struggling. Yeah, struggling to the tune of 3 TD passes.
In the lead, and so really the second half starts a lot like the first half. First possession here in the second half goes for a touchdown. Since Northwestern took the 14-7 lead, Northwestern has run only 18 plays, Purdue 44. And Dorsch kicks it away to Teddy Johnson from the 2-yard line, and he's not going anywhere. He's brought down to the 9-yard line, and he's taken down by Dante Farrell on the special teams tackle. And Northwestern, a thrilling win at Wisconsin, as we're back to live play here. And that's I think, the game that woke up the entire nation to Northwestern once again this season. We'll sort out the penalty.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, 5 yards. The down remains forced.
We get the penalty, and we get Dave Ryan.
Steve, that was one thing that Randy Walker told me at halftime. The team will not panic because they had the great comeback win against Wisconsin, because they've beaten Michigan State and Indiana, won some big games. He also said, guys, we've got to avoid SIWs, self-inflicted wounds like that last penalty there. Too many penalties, they cannot win this game.
All right, Dave, thanks. That was a third false start in the last 2 Northwestern drives. That time they get it off without a problem. Damian Anderson on the run. Really cementing themselves back on the map, or at least in the standings in the Big Ten. On 2nd down and 9 now. Zach Kustok. That's really, they were most successful in the first half, faking it to Anderson, having Kustok keep it himself.
But, you know, I'm thinking here, Steve, that you've got to get your horse the ball. It sounds strange to say only 14 carries, but they got to get Damian Anderson the ball. We mentioned the struggles that they had in the last 4 drives, and here it is documented. The Purdue defense is doing all the right things here in the last quarter and a half.
Straight drop. Kustok steps up with pressure. Lofts one up in the air. And that had a better chance of being intercepted than it did completed. Roger Jordan was there amongst double coverage for Purdue. Chris Clopton in the area.
Again, Kustok is getting hammered here, Steve, when it's clearly passing situations. Take a look at all the white shirts. Just gets the ball off and gets whacked by Mitrione. A lot of Purdue people in the backfield, as you pointed out, Steve, 4 sacks at halftime, 10 tackles for loss. I really think that Northwestern has to reestablish that running game and give Anderson the ball.
Kustak's first 2 carries in the game, Todd, 41 yards. Since then, he's had 9 carries, minus 31 yards. That's one of the reasons they're punting. J.J. Strandring. Vinny Sutherland won't have a chance. It was touched by a Purdue player, and it's going to be Northwestern's football at the 50.
He had no idea. It was very difficult. Brady Doe, the reserve free safety, is sprinting downfield. He's got his back to the play. There's a situation where Sutherland has to scream, get away, get away, get away. But instead he can't do it. Watch the ball. It's going to hit him square in the back. He has no idea where it is. Both he and Farrell are in on the gunner, and because they do such a good job is the reason it gets hit in the back. If they did a crummy job, they never got hit. What a huge break for the Wildcats.
And that is the game's first turnover. Again, after would have to be a discouraging first possession of the second half. Northwestern will get another crack at it with the momentum, with the break. Let's see what they do with it. Kustok out of the shotgun, running for his life, and it's picked off. Intercepted. It went off the hands of Roger Johnson, and it's intercepted. Is it Ralph Turner?
I think it is, Steve. What a gift. It is Ralph Turner. The ricochet goes right to him. How strange is that back-to-back to have those sorts of turnovers? Kustok, we had talked about the great job that he had at accuracy. This isn't that difficult to throw. He goes out, and really, in that situation, if Roger Jordan doesn't stick his hand out, it's incomplete. Instead, it ricochets off his hand, bounces right to the strong safety, who's the happiest man on the field right now.
So we go an entire 35 minutes without any turnovers. And here in the last 30 seconds or so, the last 2 plays, 2 turnovers. First 86 plays, no turnovers. Last 2 were 2 for 2 in the turnover department. See if Purdue can avoid giving it right back to Northwestern. Brees firing all along, able to complete to Donald Winston, his second reception of the afternoon, and it's good for a first down. Rashad Morton, the tackle.
You do not, as a quarterback, young quarterbacks out there, you don't have to run the 40 and 4-4 to be able to be nimble. Watch the moves here by Drew Brees that enable him to get out. Missouri is not fooled by the play fake, has him dead to rights. What does he do? He steps out, now rolls to his right, has the capacity and the composure to step to his right and still be able to make the throw. Those are the subtle things that Drew Brees does so very well, Steve.
We continue to look for a weakness on Drew Brees and struggle to find one. On first down and 10. Handoff to Montrell Lowe, not much there. Maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Stopped by Dwayne Missouri. Lowe hasn't had many of those today.
No, he hasn't, and Missouri has done a great job today. I find it interesting that so many times when I ask coaches who has to play well for you to win, they mention Dwayne Missouri, and he has been in the backfield all day long. Unfortunately, some of his cohorts have not been quite as effective.
Missouri, the senior, was telling us yesterday, hey, he's seen everything here. He's seen 3 and 8. He's seen scandal. He's seen a coaching change. And he's looking for a Rose Bowl to see that as well. Here's Brees keeping it on the ground. He's short of the first down, short of the 30-yard line as well. Only Matt Hasselbeck has been sacked fewer times in the nation than Drew Brees. Brees rushing today 5 times for 35 yards. 3 receivers to the left. He's throwing left and hits Sutherland. He's got a lane. End zone. Touchdown. Vinny Sutherland gets there. His second touchdown catch of the afternoon.
Steve, but it was the block at the point of attack that enables him to get that touchdown. It's a no-brainer throw, a simple throw, and if the defensive back can come up and make the play, he drops him. Instead, I think it was Seth Morales who makes the block that enables Sutherland to get to outside, and as you pointed out, with his blazing speed, go in for 6.
26 yards, second touchdown of the day to Vinny Sutherland. John Standiford has a pair of touchdown catches as well. And Drew Brees, all of a sudden, 4 touchdown passes. Dorsch able to connect on the extra point. Sutherland now 7 catches for 84 yards and 2 scores. Boilermakers able to take advantage, and they open up a 14-point lead under 8 minutes to play here in quarter number 3.
Drew Brees with that, just another 4 touchdown throw day? I like him a lot.
Teddy Johnson is back at the 2 for Northwestern. The Wildcats need something offensively, and it won't start with a great return, as they'll start with field position at their 16-yard line. Alex Tone on the special teams.
Take a look at the beginning right here. You've got outnumbered 3-2 to begin with because they want to come with a blitz underneath. Now watch Seth Morales at the point of attack right here. There's the block right here that Morales puts on the defender that enables Sutherland to get to the outside. Now I believe it's A.T. Simpson up top who shoves his man out of the way. Sutherland weaves in and out, and he's in for the touchdown. Great blocking by the wide receivers for the Boilermakers.
Northwestern needs a drive. They need something positive on offense. Here's Zach Kustak under pressure, throwing and completing to Kool-Aid Patrick. Loose football, and Purdue says they have it. And the officials agree.
It appears that it's Randy Gardner is the one who comes up with the ball. It is number 16, converted wide receiver. He came to Purdue as a wide receiver, Steve. Started the season a middle linebacker. Now he's on the outside. Terrible time for Northwestern. Gilbert Gardner, rather, excuse me.
The true freshman coming up with the loose ball.
Now watch the lick at the point of attack. It wasn't such a traumatic lick, but again, give Gardner credit. Johnny on the spot, and a back-to-back turnovers for Northwestern. Exactly what they didn't need here, Steve.
Kool-Aid Patrick was the receiver who coughed up the football. Now Purdue can start putting this one out of reach. Here's Brees trying to go up top. He's flattened. Loose football as it popped up in the air, and I think Purdue has it.
But you don't often see Brees take a hit like that. He was really belted in the backfield. Flags on the field.
Ian Allen, the guard, is the one that comes up with the ball. But again, we keep talking about Dwayne Missouri. He's the one that comes right in his face and absolutely clobbers him. Remember, he talked to us yesterday, Steve. He said, I'd really like to get a good lick on Brees. I think that would have to be defined as a good lick.
Had a sack earlier, but it wasn't with the kind of velocity of that hit.
And for those out there that are wondering as to whether or not Brees can take a hit, I guess the answer is yes. His chin is not glass.
There is no penny. The ball was tipped by the defense. Therefore, there is no penalty. Good catch. Second down.
Yeah, Ian Allen will be happy to hear that. Hey, I had a good catch. Watch number 95. Just a great move. Reminds me a little bit of Richard Dent. Look at that. It's him right in this. Oh, man. That's the reason right there, Steve, why you have so many quarterbacks. If you watch at home and you say to yourself, well, that guy looks really fat, the quarterback. It's not fat, it's rib pads.
Right.
You got to protect those ribs. And Dwayne Missouri, number 95, is having himself a day.
Ian Allen, who will get credit for a catch now. The least experienced member of that offensive line, making a key play there. Brees taken down again, taking another pounding, that time from Kevin Bentley of Northwestern. Dave Ryan, down to the field to you.
All right, Steve, we saw some of the offensive linemen helping out Drew Brees a moment ago. A lot of the guys on this offensive line, particularly Matt Light, have a real big goal when it comes to Drew Brees' season. They'd like to see him win the Heisman Trophy because they realize it would be an amazing award for the entire team to win. Matt Light told me a couple of weeks ago when we were covering Purdue, hey, what more special award could you possibly have as an offensive lineman than for your starting quarterback to win the Heisman?
It's never happened before, Dave. At Purdue, they've had a long line of good quarterbacks, too. Brees hooks up to Standiford for the catch. Bob Greasy, Jim Everett, Len Dawson, Gary Danielson, all quarterbacks coming out of Purdue. No Purdue players ever won the Heisman.
Yeah, Herman, Phipps, they've had a bunch. They've had two guys that have finished second. And Brees, of course, finished fourth last year. Who do you like right now, speaking of that? Who'd you pick? If right now the season ended, who'd you pick?
I think I might go with Michael Vick.
Really?
Go off the board, yeah.
All right. That's interesting.
And you?
Eric Crouch.
That pass was incomplete. But Brees was hit again, and all of a sudden he's starting to take some punishment now as he was going to Standiford.
But I thought it interesting that after he takes that big hit, what does he call? What's the play he calls? He calls quarterback draw and runs the downfield. That shows his courage. That shows his toughness. But getting back to that, what do you mean Michael Vick, courageous call? He was on all the magazine covers.
No, I know,
He's
but
on a dozen, for goodness sake.
Not a senior player, not a junior.
Crouch is a junior.
Yeah, but still, look at Crouch's team, the difference of the teams.
If Tomlinson gets over 2,000 yards, he's my pick.
You're going to change that week to week? Or not? Here's Brees. Inside the 10-yard line, adding up the rushing statistics. Morton and Bentley made the tackle.
Now, you mentioned the trash talking. There was some trash talking at the end. You saw Brees with a smile on his face saying, what are you talking about, man? I'm rushing for close to 50 yards. I've thrown 4 touchdown passes. I'm the last guy in the field you want to trash talk to. He's giddy now. He knows he's in the driver's seat. Look at the smiles on the field. You don't see that very often in the middle of the third quarter between quarterback and coach.
So just short of the first down. Inches away.
If Northwestern can, Steve, they very much need to force a field goal attempt here. Because if they go down 21 points at this juncture, that's going to be very difficult for the Wildcats to come back from.
Speaking of Brees and the Heisman, sorry, Todd, in terms of how important the game is, beyond just his stats and rushing stats, only 8 quarterbacks have won the Heisman and had 2 losses or fewer. We've got 2 losses coming into today. Montrell Lowe carrying, and he's got the first down. Jim Plunkett in 1970 was the last quarterback to win the Heisman with 3 regular season losses. You've heard of him?
Oh, I have. What a very good friend of mine. He threw a few balls my way. Picked up a couple of Super Bowl rings along the way. A very, very underrated quarterback. Threw arguably the best ball that I've ever been around. And I caught balls from a lot of guys, like in the Pro Bowl. Marino, Fouts, Elway.
Could that happen
Jim
anymore?
Kelly.
Could a team lose 3 games and that team's quarterback win the Heisman? That almost sounds impossible.
It's interesting because the quarterback is so directly responsible for wins and losses. I don't think so.
Vinny Sutherland on the reception from Brees, and again, Brees bumped down to the ground. Wheeler had the coverage there, and
Well, you're the king of segues, Steve. Just as you talk about it, it shows up on the television. And there, as you document, only 2 losses or less. And, of course, don't forget that every one of these guys put up, except for possibly, I guess, Toretta might be the exception, they put up Nintendo numbers. You know, just unbelievable numbers.
Brees 4 touchdown passes today. Only 190 yards, and I say only. It's Drew Brees. 2nd down and goal, and he's looking for more. And let's see, they say no, he did not get in around the cone there. But John Standiford at the 1-inch line, nearly his 5th touchdown pass of the day. Would have been Standiford's 3rd catch today.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Watch him extend his right foot. This is a great throw, the timing. Now watch what he does with his right foot. He'll kick it. Oh, that's a touchdown. Look at that. His left foot was in across the goal line. That's a touchdown. He can't believe it either. He says, I thought I was in there.
Joe Tiller's not going to challenge it either. They don't have that in college football. And it's Steve Ennis, the short yardage specialist, running in for the touchdown. First rushing touchdown of the afternoon for Purdue. Turnovers killing Northwestern today.
At home, you can hear a pretty considerable cheer. It's only a 134-mile drive from West Lafayette up here to Evanston, Illinois. And the result is there's a pretty good chunk of Purdue faithful here in the stands today, Steve. Purdue with the stop. Now, this is interesting. Tiller with the stopwatch. They've had so many problems with the kicking game.
And there's another.
Like a missed extra point.
Off the upright for the miss. And for Travis Dorsch, that is his first missed extra point. This is the school record holder at one point, connected on 58 straight. Time now for our United States Army storyline. Started like a ball of fire today. First 3 drives resulted in touchdowns, but 2 turnovers here in the 3rd quarter by Northwestern have really hurt them. And Damian Anderson, really more of a decoy today. He's only carried it 15 times, only for 48 yards. And at this pace would not come even close to this season average of 170.
And Steve down 20 points. It's not that he's a non-factor in the game, but certainly he's not going to get into 25 or 30 carries as Northwestern is going to be forced into throwing the ball for the remainder of this game.
This crowd that is here in attendance, probably 7 less than they had hoped for. The guy by the name of Jim Karstens, who played defensive end for 4 years here at Northwestern. He wanted to go to the game with his 5 children. Unfortunately, he's watching from a hospital room in Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn, where he's planning a small party. Only family and friends wearing purple allowed to watch the game. His wife wanted us to say hi. His wife, of course, graduated from Purdue, so every year they celebrate this game, Purdue and Northwestern. And that pass is intercepted. Intercepted.
Steve, I think it might have been Aiken Adele who stepped back into coverage. It was number 13, normally the defensive end, and a pass rusher steps back into coverage, and Kustok just flat out did not see him.
Well, that'll make Mary Karstens happy, but not Jim Karstens. Jim, we're thinking about you.
Right in the chest for Adele. Kustok does not see him. We talked about the fact that number 13 had put up some big numbers last year. Up to this point, unable to do that. He comes back into coverage. You see him right in the middle. He comes from his defensive end position and backpedals to the 4-yard line and comes up with the pick.
Third turnover this quarter. 3 straight possessions, 3 straight turnovers now by Northwestern, and Purdue will look to put it on the ground with Montrell Lowe and keep the clock moving.
And as Aiken Adele gets his gift today, we'd like to wish happy birthday to Ricky Wallace, our sound engineer, big number 40. And let me tell you something, partner. 40 ain't so bad, but 41, whew, that's a tough one. Then you know you're in your 40s. And also to my buddy, Jake McDonough, the son of our excellent director, John McDonough, his 21st birthday. And all I can say to you, Jake, is on your 21st, be careful, homeboy.
Well, make sure you call your dad tonight, too. Brees on the carry. He'll keep it himself out to the 16-yard line.
we've seen him run, we've seen him block, and of course earlier in the season he caught a ball for a touchdown. The thing about Drew Brees, sometimes I'm always reminded of the line about John Kruk where he refers to himself and they said, why are you so out of shape? He says, I'm not an athlete, I'm a baseball player. Sometimes in the case of quarterback, that's an apt analogy. You know, quarterbacks are the guys that are pretty, that stand back in the pocket and don't get themselves muddy. This is a guy who reminds me of your boy for the Mets years ago, Lenny Dykstra. He gets his jersey dirty.
And offside there. Look like Brees' cadence may be changed up, caused Northwestern to jump.
Just to finish the point, Steve, Drew Brees isn't just a quarterback. He's a football player.
Everything everyone says about Drew Brees is so positive. Just smart, obviously a great player, and
Prior to the snap, illegal contact by the defense, 5 yards, results in a first down.
And before I was so rudely interrupted by the referee. And by the way, Drew is supposed to be a very, very nice young man.
Yeah, but he's got that birthmark, you know. You're looking for an imperfection. How about that?
Not sure that counts. Here's Brees handing it off to Montrell Lowe. A gain of 2. Minnesota and Ohio State. It was a surprise brewing early. What's the latest, Brian Kenny?
Well, we got the Buckeyes coming back here. Now first and goal. Steve Belisari for the Buckeyes goes back up to Darnell Sanders, and the Buckeyes back in. A lot of time left in the fourth quarter, but it's 23-17.
All right, Brian, thank you. Here are the Big Ten standings coming into play today. We told you earlier, Ohio State and Purdue, they control their own destiny. And you say, wait, how's that possible? They play each other. And of course, if Purdue would win that game, then they would have the advantage and likely be ticketed for the Rose Bowl. Could they run the table? Speaking of running, here's Montrell Lowe. Shy of the 40-yard line of the 39. Morton and Bentley on the stop.
Was it just me, or did that seem like it started in slow motion? The guy took the snap, and there's a little bit of a hesitation. He gets the ball. Very strange. Doesn't this seem awfully slow? Oh, it's in slow motion. Okay, I get it. But I'm talking about in normal speed. Montrell Lowe just having a terrific game. And again, Steve, you know what? That bodes so well for that offense if he continues to run. 20 carries for 154 yards today. The combination of Lowe and Brees. The future opponents can't be looking forward to that.
And Lowe, you know, is hearing all week about Damian Anderson, Anderson this, yep, Anderson that, and Lowe's been the best running back on the field, and he's adding to his totals off the pitch from Brees now, able to turn the corner, showing you the speed. He's across midfield before Raheem Covington bumped him out.
Nice little pitch to the side. Lowe having a career game for Purdue, and obviously the third quarter stats all Purdue. See the points and turnovers, but check out that time of possession. One of the things that Northwestern wants to do is they want to wear the other team down and head into the fourth quarter in their gas. It's going to be just the opposite today, as Northwestern's defense has spent the most time on the field. Purdue has had 70 plays, Steve. Having been on that team, I would know that.
In good hands, people, I understand.
Yeah.
Northwestern does have 2 timeouts left.
And they're not referred to as All-State, despite what you might think.
There is it. Takes the high hop, and it went off one of the Purdue players. It was batted out of bounds. And so Purdue will get the football and look to hang on up 13. And should Purdue win this football game and hang on, they're showing you a lot of different type championship kind of things. The way they won last week, rallying back furious for that 18-point deficit at halftime at Michigan. Here today, tough start for them, yet they've come on and played very well since the first 2 drives.
Something else to point out is the fact that, yeah, it's not all about Drew Brees in the offense. You can see today the balance. Today, Montrell Lowe with a career high with 172 yards up to this point. They show that Drew Brees doesn't have to have a great day for them to win.
And Zach Kustok has actually outpassed Drew Brees today. That'll be something you'll look at twice in the box score tomorrow. Kustok, 260 yards passing, Brees 196. On second down and 8, the sunshine on the back of Drew Brees. And Brees stumbled as he went on the naked bootleg there. Out to the 38-yard line.
Basically, you've got a situation where you don't play it safe. And again, up 13, you're right. You'd want to think that, hey, hand the ball off to Lowe 3 times, and let's punt the thing and let the defense take over. But that's not the way Joe Tiller and the offense works.
And quite frankly,
Purdue,
the passing game hasn't been that effective recently. Brees is 0 for his last 5 with 1 interception. That, again, was off a tipped ball, so not necessarily the quarterback's fault there. There's a 3rd down and 9, and Brees figures to put it in the air. With all sorts of time. Crossing pattern to John Standiford. He's got the first down and more, and he might have 6. Standiford, touchdown. John Standiford, his 3rd touchdown catch of the afternoon. That one for 43 yards. And Drew Brees has 5 touchdown passes. Count them 5.
And once again, Seth Morales with a great block downfield that frees Standiford. He comes across the field on the crossing route, makes a move on the DB, but it looks like he's going to be tackled for about a 12-yard gain. Morales able to knock off the defensive back and enables Standiford to tiptoe down the sidelines for the touchdown.
Standiford, the true freshman, with his 3rd touchdown catch today. Here's Travis Dorsch on. And the extra point puts it through. And it's back to a 20-point lead for Purdue. Past Chuck Long of Iowa for #1 career in the Big Ten touchdown passes. He's got 5 more today. He's making it that much more difficult for the next guy who's going to try and catch him and break his record. Teddy Johnson for Northwestern. On the return, he's out past the 20 and down to the 25, and we go down to the field, and Dave Bryant.
Well, Steve, Purdue lost a tall, athletic receiver with great hands last year to graduation, a guy by the name of Chris Daniels. So that's West Lafayette as the Big Ten's all-time leading receiver. John Standiford may be as good someday. Joe Tiller says to us that if he adds about 20 pounds of muscle, he's only 6'4", about 178 pounds right now. He really could be that good with that kind of potential. Now, early on in the year, he was really having trouble reading defenses, picking up coverages. He was getting jammed at the line of scrimmage and quitting on routes, and Drew Brees had to do a lot of counseling with his young receiver. But obviously, guys, has come a long way. He's really made some progress today with a big afternoon.
All right, Dave, thank you. John Standiford.
Illegal huddle. 13 men on the field. 5 yards. The down remains first.
13 minutes.
That's not even close.
That's that's not Canadian rules. That's Icelandic. What's up?
Well, maybe the extra man was the quarterback. Matt Danielson has checked in for Zach Kustok.
And if that surname is familiar to you, he is indeed the son of our colleague and outstanding analyst for ABC, Jerry Danielson.
Who, of course, played at Purdue his college career. And a handoff to Kevin Lawrence. Danielson to Lawrence, a new connection for Northwest. Looking for his first win against a ranked opponent on the road. And he's less than 90 seconds away from that. Getting that monkey off the back, and then you can move on to the next one. That throw by Danielson.
Oh, great go!
And touchdown! Louis Ianni, the touchdown for 35 yards. Ianni, who actually came into the season out of the summer ball as the starting wide receiver, hurt himself in the spring. This is his first action of the season, and what action it is. 35-yard touchdown pass from Matt Danielson, and congratulations to Matt as well.
I was going to say, what a terrific drive he had. And as you pointed out, I don't know who he's acknowledging in the stands, maybe his mom or somebody. He just gave him the one finger up. Oh, what a great drive for that youngster. Look at that, perfect.
5 of 5, 94 yards, and the score, and again, had a 55-yarder taken back off a completed pass. The extra point is good by Tim Long, and it will look much more respectable in the newspaper tomorrow.
Certainly will. Yeah, that young man in this drive looks more than respectable. He's got the slant route. Schweigert comes up, slips, and falls, and as a result, there's nobody left in center field. Easy touchdown for Ianni. They always have that powder puff schedule.
I think their combined opponents are like 7 and 26 so far, the teams they have beaten.
For those that don't know at home, yes, you can on a kickoff call a fair catch. And that's exactly what happens for Ben Smith, reserve free safety.
And go to 3-1 in the Big Ten. And Drew Brees will take a knee and try to run the clock out. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Purdue can control their own destiny because they do play against Ohio State.
Now, Drew Brees and Purdue, I'm sure, was anticipating that, wait a minute, you know, we thought we were just going to get this thing over with, but instead, Northwestern calls the timeout, and so now Drew Brees goes over and says, well, now, if that's what they're going to do, why don't we run a play?
Look at Drew Brees in terms of his numbers on the season and passing yardage. I mean, you know, you look at his worst passing game is 221 yards. A lot of quarterbacks in the country that would take that. And just over that today. Not much better than the 221 yards today, 239.
But interesting enough, in that game, Steve, against Notre Dame, he only threw the ball 22 times. So that's still 10 yards per attempt, which is outstanding.
5 touchdown passes. That will be the highlight today. As, again, he keeps working towards another Big Ten record. Came in needing 407 yards to pass Chuck Long, all-time #1 in the Big Ten. Won't get there today. That will stop his streak now of 3 straight games, setting or tying a Big Ten record. He can work on that next week at Wisconsin. A minute left to play. Let's go down to the field again, and Dave Ryan.
No, Steve, we talked a lot about the accomplishments of Drew Brees, all the stats, all the records. It's been kind of interesting on the sideline watching him as a leader as well. After the touchdown run earlier in the second half from Vinny Sutherland on that little flash pattern out to the sideline, he went right up to the other wide receivers, not just Vinny, A.T. Simpson, Seth Morales, and John Standiford. Congratulated them on great downfield blocking. He's been in the face of a lot of his defensive players on the other side of the ball, telling them not to let down and continue to play hard every single play. So it's not just his on-field accomplishments, it's off the field with the team as well, showing what kind of leadership he's all about.
Wait a minute, you know, we thought we were just going to get this thing over with, but instead Northwestern calls the timeout, and so now Drew Brees goes over and says, well, now if that's what they're going to do, why don't we run a play?
Look at Drew Brees in terms of his numbers on the season and passing yardage. I mean, you know, you look at his worst passing game is 221 yards. A lot of quarterbacks in the country that would take that. And just over that today. Not much better than the 221 yards today, 239.
But interesting enough, in that game, Steve, against Notre Dame, he only threw the ball 22 times. So that's still 10 yards per attempt, which is outstanding.
5 touchdown passes. That will be the highlight today. As, again, he keeps working towards another Big Ten record. Came in needing 407 yards to pass Chuck Long, all-time #1 in the Big Ten. Won't get there today. That will stop his streak now of 3 straight games, setting or tying a Big Ten record. He can work on that next week at Wisconsin. A minute left to play. Let's go down to the field again, and Dave Ryan.
No, Steve, we talked a lot about the accomplishments of Drew Brees, all the stats, all the records. It's been kind of interesting on the sideline watching him as a leader as well. After the touchdown run earlier in the second half from Vinny Sutherland on that little flash pattern out to the sideline, he went right up to the other wide receivers, not just Vinny, A.T. Simpson, Seth Morales, and John Standiford. Congratulated them on great downfield blocking. He's been in the face of a lot of his defensive players on the other side of the ball, telling them not to let down and continue to play hard every single play. So it's not just his on-field accomplishments, it's off the field with the team as well, showing what kind of leadership he's all about.
I don't know what else to say about Drew Brees, you know. The nice thing about him in terms of statistics is you almost don't have to write anything down because he's #1 in just about everything. It's just assumed. It's just right there for you. Except that last Chuck Long record he's going for.
That's right. He needed 407 today, and now he has, what did you say he has? 239.
You're going to do that in your head for me?
Yeah, that means he needs 169 next week.
I'll put the calculator away, Todd.
No,
That's so unfair.
No, come on.
Final minute to play here. They'll try to run down the clock. Had better than 40,000 on hand here at Ryan Field. It holds 47,000. Season ticket base here's about 18,000. Back before the great '95 season, they had a season ticket base of just 5,000 people here. And of course, after the great bowl season, that bumped up to 23,000. And now it's leveled off a bit down to 17 or 18. But again, tough to draw. Only 7,400 undergraduate students enrolled here. And many people coming from all over the country because the academics are so fine here. You don't get a lot of people who've grown up with Northwestern football. And they're starting to make new fans, though, this season.
Well, Purdue let it run all the way down, delay of game with 11 seconds left. Now, I mean, it's kind of a fun decision, actually. What do? Do you run a play? I think Brees is going back on the field. I don't know if he wants to because of the problems they've had in the punting game. I would think, though, that I would punt, and here's why, Steve. Even though it's relatively meaningless, whatever happens here, you want the confidence of the punt team. But I guess it doesn't matter. They're going to have Drew Brees come out and run another play. I'm really surprised at this. Give the punt team the opportunity to do it in a game situation. It's not exactly a perfect unit right now.
And now some frustration on the field. And from the Northwestern side, I guess that is to be expected. This was billed as showdown between a couple of Heisman hopefuls that never materialized. A showdown between two top-ranked teams in the Big Ten, and quite frankly, that never materialized.